Your fish just swam to the glass the second you walked in, and your first instinct was probably something like, "Oh, it knows me." But what if that moment is actually something far stranger, far more intelligent, and honestly way more impressive than simple recognition? This video is going to completely change how you see that little ritual. Most people assume it's either hunger or some vague idea of fish friendship. And sure, those aren't totally wrong. But the real explanation involves memory, sensory systems that work nothing like yours, evolutionary rewiring, and a level of learning that most fish owners never even suspect is happening. I've gone deep on the science and the research here, and what I found genuinely surprised me. We're going to cover what your fish actually perceives before it even sees you, why the behavior looks different depending on the species, what it means when the behavior suddenly stops, and the one thing most owners accidentally do that slowly destroys the bond without realizing it. Let's start with the thing that will hit you hardest. Your fish hears you before it sees you, not in the way you hear things. There's an organ running along the side of your fish's body called the lateral line. It's a row of tiny sensory cells that detect pressure changes and vibrations in the water. And here's the wild part. Your footsteps on the floor create vibrations that travel through the ground, through the furniture, into the tank stand, and into the water itself. Your fish literally feels your weight when you walk into the room. So by the time you actually appear in front of the glass, your fish has already been receiving a signal. It already knew something was coming. The approach to the glass isn't a reaction to seeing you. It's the end of a process that started the moment your foot hit the floor. But it doesn't stop there. Your fish also responds to light. When you stand in front of a tank, you change the pattern of light falling through the water. Your shadow is its own signal. And your fish, over time, has learned to tell your shadow from a stranger's shadow. Same with your silhouette. Because fish see through water and glass in a distorted way, what they actually learn to recognize is a combination of your outline, your size, and the specific rhythm of how you move. Your walk is as identifiable to your fish as your face is to another human. And then there's something even more surprising. People who regularly put their hands in the tank leave a chemical signature. Fish have an extraordinarily sensitive chemical detection system. Your fish can literally smell the difference between you and someone else. So, before a single moment of greeting happens at the glass, your fish has already processed vibration, light shift, shadow pattern, silhouette, and possibly chemical trace. It's not greeting you. It's confirming a prediction it already made. That's important. But if you don't understand what the fish is actually doing at the glass once it gets there, you're still missing the bigger picture. Here's the part that flips the whole story. Most people assume their fish swims to the glass because it's happy to see them. And that framing, cute as it is, undersells what's actually happening. The better way to think about it is this. Your fish isn't greeting you. Your fish is predicting you. Let me explain what that means. Fish are extraordinarily fast learners when it comes to pattern recognition. If your arrival has been followed by feeding, by attention, by any kind of change in the tank environment, your fish has built a predictive model. Your presence equals an event, and the glass, specifically the front glass, is where that event usually begins. So, the fish positions itself at the highest value location in the tank, the front, because that's where its prediction pays off. This is called conditioned association. And it's not a simple reflex. Research has shown that some fish can distinguish individual humans visually, remember specific people over months, and adjust their behavior based on who is approaching. Not just whether someone is approaching, but who. There's a study where archerfish, a species known for spitting water at prey, were trained to recognize specific human faces. They could pick the correct face out of a lineup of up to 44 different images with up to 89% accuracy. These are fish, with brains the size of a pea, doing facial recognition. Your pet fish at home is doing something in the same family of cognitive work every single time you walk in. And here's the piece that most people completely miss. It's not always about food. Research has found that in households with multiple people, fish will respond more strongly to the person who spends the most time near the tank, regardless of who does the feeding. Feeding alone doesn't create the association. Presence does. Routine does. Consistency does. Your fish has built a model of you specifically, and that model is more detailed than you ever imagined. Now, here's where it gets really interesting, and honestly a little humbling. There's a measurable difference between a fish coming to the glass because it's hungry and a fish coming to the glass because it recognizes you. Hunger-driven behavior looks frantic. The fish moves irregularly, orients toward the surface, shows fast lateral movement. Recognition-driven behavior looks calm. The fish moves smoothly, stays at eye level with you, and often holds position directly in front of you. You can actually learn to read which state your fish is in. And here's the part researchers are a little reluctant to say out loud. When a fish approaches a familiar person, its cortisol levels, the stress hormone, are measurably lower than when an unfamiliar person approaches. The fish is not just neutral about you. It is physiologically more relaxed in your presence than in a stranger's. The approach to the glass is literally a relaxation signal. That's not nothing. That's a nervous system that has classified you as safe in a world where everything large and moving is supposed to be a threat. And that brings us to the evolutionary piece, which is the part I find most mind-bending of all. In the wild, no fish swims toward a large moving silhouette. That's a death sentence. Every instinct a fish has evolved over millions of years says, big thing moving equals predator equals flee. Your fish does the opposite. That means somewhere in its brain, in a structure called the telencephalon that functions similarly to the mammalian amygdala, a decision has been made. You have been recategorized. You are not predator. You are something else entirely. Something that has never existed in the evolutionary history of fish until humans started keeping them in glass boxes. You are a known entity in an otherwise unpredictable world. And captive-bred fish have actually shifted neurologically over generations to accommodate this. Their stress responses to human presence are measurably different from wild-caught fish of the same species. They haven't just learned to tolerate you. They've been, without anyone intending it, partially bred for the capacity to recognize and respond to you. Your fish is the product of an accidental evolutionary experiment, and that experiment produced an animal that swims toward you. If you're finding this as fascinating as I did, drop a comment below. I want to know what species you keep and whether your fish does this. And if you want to go even deeper on fish cognition, there's a video coming that will genuinely change how you think about what's going on inside that tank. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Now, here's the part nobody talks about. The warning sign hidden inside this behavior. If your fish suddenly stops coming to the glass, that is one of the earliest and most reliable indicators that something is wrong. Not just behaviorally wrong, physically wrong. Fish are masters at hiding illness. In the wild, showing weakness gets you eaten, so they suppress symptoms until they can't anymore. But behavioral changes slip through earlier than physical ones. A fish that used to greet you and now doesn't, that's a signal. Water quality, temperature stress, disease in early stages, a new tank addition disrupting the social environment. Any of these can collapse the behavior before you see a single fin clamp or color change. Most owners notice it too late because they don't realize what the disappearance of the behavior actually means. And there's a flip side to this that's equally important. If you feed your fish every single time it comes to the glass, you are slowly overriding the behavior. What started as a complex association, you, specifically, as a known and safe entity, gets reduced to a simple food reflex. The recognition component gets buried under pure conditioned expectation. You're not ruining anything permanently, but you are changing what the behavior means, both for the fish and for you. The smarter move is to vary your response. Sometimes feed, sometimes just observe, sometimes tap gently. Keep the association rich and multi-layered, not just transactional. Let's also talk briefly about species, because the same behavior means genuinely different things depending on what's in your tank. In cichlids, approaching the glass often has a territorial component. They're showing you their space. In goldfish, it's almost always learned expectation. They are incredibly efficient pattern learners. In bettas, it can be something closer to genuine interactive interest. Bettas are one of the few fish species that will follow a finger, track movement deliberately, and show what looks unmistakably like curiosity. And then there are Oscars. Oscars are called the dogs of the fish world for a reason. They develop individual personalities. They follow fingers. They interact with objects. They will press against the glass in a way that looks, and I know how this sounds, like they're trying to make contact. Oscar owners consistently report behavior that doesn't fit the standard, it's just conditioning explanation. And researchers are starting to pay more attention to why. One more thing that most people never think about: the direction you approach from matters. Fish that are consistently fed from the left side of the tank tend to position themselves toward the left glass. Fish that are fed from the front tend to orient forward. Your fish has mapped your behavior onto its physical environment. It has a geography of you, where you appear, where you stand, which side you reach from. Your aquarium, from your fish's perspective, has a spatial layout defined entirely by your habits. Every time you walk in, your fish is reading that map and moving to the right place, not randomly, not instinctively, deliberately. So let's pull this all together. Your fish hears you before you arrive. It reads your shadow, your silhouette, your movement pattern. It processes all of that through a sensory system that is far more sophisticated than most people give it credit for. It has built a detailed model of you specifically, not just human, but you. It has classified you as safe at a neurological level. And it moves to the glass, not to greet you in the way a dog greets you, but to confirm a prediction it's already made, that you, specifically, are here, and that your presence means something worth moving toward. That's not a fish being cute. That's a fish being smart. And honestly, the fact that an animal this small, with a brain this compact, has built that kind of model of you, out of vibrations and shadows and light patterns and routine, is one of the more remarkable things happening quietly in your living room every single day. If you've made it this far, you clearly care about understanding your fish on a deeper level than most people bother with. That's exactly the kind of person this channel is for. Subscribe if you haven't already. There's a lot more coming on fish cognition, behavior, and the science that most aquarium content completely ignores. And leave a comment. Tell me, does your fish do this? Does it come to one side specifically? Does it respond to one person more than others? I genuinely want to know. Those comments also tell the algorithm this video is worth showing to more people, which means more fish owners get to see their pets the way you now do. Your fish isn't just swimming to the glass. It's been watching you this whole time.